Hey guys, it's Eric from Quality Electric. We get a lot of the same questions while we're out in the field, so I figured today we could spend some time going over those questions together. Yeah, so a lot of people think you can just go out and start being an electrician, but there's a lot of things you have to do first before you can get out there and start doing installations. You have to do your 4 years as an apprentice electrician, so you have to go to school for 4 years and get 8,000 hours of working hours. Do you have to do in-person school for your electrical apprenticeship? The short answer is no. They make a lot of different programs now. Some of them you can do fully online, some of them are hybrid. There's a lot of different options. You still have the conventional at nights or on weekends in-person school, which some people learn a lot better that way. So there's an option for every different type of learner out there. Do I really need an electrician just to change some lights or outlets in my house? The answer is yes, absolutely you do. There's a lot of companies out there that say they can do electrical, plumbing, and all this different things, but unless you're a licensed master electrician or work for a licensed master electrician, it's against the law for you to do electrical work in someone's home. Another important thing to think about is that it's not just changing a light or changing an outlet. Your electrical system is just that. It's a system. It includes everything, the wiring, the circuit breakers, all the different devices that come along with it. So when we're going in and we're changing a light or an outlet, yes, the task of changing the light or changing the outlet is relatively simple, but we're also evaluating your whole system to make sure we're not leaving you with other hazards that unlicensed or qualified people might not even know exist. Is my fuse box a hazard? The fuse boxes themselves aren't the hazard, it's the amount of protection that they aren't providing that's the hazard. Fuse boxes, because there's nothing stopping you from unscrewing a 15 amp fuse and screwing in a 30 amp fuse, means there's a lot of homes out there that aren't protected correctly. If you have a 30 amp fuse on wiring that's only rated for 15 amps, you can burn connections up, you can burn wiring up, and that's where the hazard comes into play. In addition to that, fuses don't provide as much protection, meaning they don't always trip when they're supposed to. So if you have an overcurrent situation or a direct short to ground, your fuses may not trip, and that is obviously a big hazard. Here in New England, we've got a lot of older homes, so a question that we get all the time is, how do I know if I have ungrounded wiring and is it safe? Not having a ground in your wiring system can definitely be a potential hazard. The ground wire that is supposed to be in there provides protection for your equipment, for yourself. It also helps your breakers and other safety equipment operate correctly. In order to really know if you have ungrounded wiring in your home, the best thing you should do is call an electrician to come out and evaluate it. The other way you can tell is with an outlet tester that you can get right at Lowe's or Home Depot. You plug it right in there and it will tell you right on the tester if it's ungrounded or not. Another question we get all the time, especially with those hot summer days, is why are my breakers always tripping? Under normal circumstances, your circuit breakers should rarely ever trip. There's a host of different reasons that can cause them to trip. The main reason that they trip is an overload. So you have too many things plugged in or running on the circuit causing it to trip. The most common culprits of those are things like your air conditioners and vacuums, electric heaters. Things like that are actually a massive electrical load that a lot of people don't realize. So if you find yourself resetting the same breaker more than once or twice, you should definitely call someone to come take a look, because there's a chance that the breaker's actually doing its job and it's not just a nuisance trip, and it could be telling you that there's something wrong with your system. Somebody told me I need to get my main electrical service replaced. What does that even mean? Your main electrical service is the part of your system that comes in from the utility company. So the power comes in from the street, connects to your house, goes down to a meter socket, hopefully to a disconnect right under that. That's your main electrical service right there. One thing we get a lot of time is, hey, I just bought a new house. How do I make sure it's safe for myself and my family? Well, my answer to that is that there's a couple things that we look for when we're evaluating the safety. Do you have an FPE panel? Do you have knob and tube wiring? Do you have ungrounded wiring? Are there smoke detectors? Do you have GFCI or AFCI protection? Those are kind of the key things that can help you determine if your electrical system is safe or not. Where do you need GFCI protection? GFCI protection in its most basic form protects you from shock in a situation where water and electricity may mix. So if you think of it that way, your bathrooms, your basement, your garage, outside, those types of places need to have GFCI protection. What are arc fault breakers and do I need them? Arc fault breakers are a new type of breaker that help prevent fires from hazards that a normal breaker can't detect. It senses the power going out and the power coming back in, and if there's any discrepancy, it considers that an arc and it will cause it to trip. Loose connections, faulty equipment, faulty appliances, things that a normal breaker wouldn't be able to detect, an arc fault breaker will, and it will trip before you have a fire. That's a great question. Do I really need surge protection? Yes, you absolutely do. Everybody should have surge protection. Just look around your house. All your TVs, all your appliances, your refrigerator, your air conditioning, your electric car if you have one, all these things are connected to your main electrical system, and you could have one surge that comes through and takes all of them out. You could avoid all that by spending a few $100s on a surge protection system and avoid that hazard altogether. Why are some of my outlets starting to feel hot? Your outlets should never really feel hot. There are some things that can cause them to feel what I would consider warm to the touch. Your little cubes where you charge your iPhone, things like that, those can definitely cause some heat transmission between the devices. But if you can't physically touch the outlet because it's too hot, you definitely need to call an electrician to come check it out. Do you need your electrical system inspected regularly? Yes, you absolutely do. Here in New England, we live in a unique environment where 1 month it could be -20 degrees and just a couple months later it can be well over 100 degrees. Those massive temperature fluctuations can wreak havoc on your electrical system. Just think about all the things your system are made out of. Wire, plastic, metal, all those things expand and contract with those heat temperature changes. So when it gets really cold and it gets really hot and things expand and contract, you get loose connections that are made worse by the temperature. And if you're not getting them inspected regularly, you won't know you have an issue until you have an emergency service call on your hands. All right, guys, I appreciate all the questions. If you have any more questions that you want to see included in part 2, drop them in the comments and we'll make sure we include them.